It's Friday morning and we're here in Philadelphia.
Missouri? Okay.
Yeah, so we're here. We're going to get the ticket and it's a long line. We're gonna see the Constitution, something like that here. So we are going to start the tour for the Independence Hall. It's all about the Declarations of Independence, and we're inside of it. So we're inside of the Independence Hall.
Hi everyone, how are you doing today?
Good.
Good.
It's pretty.
You're going to spend just about 5 to 10 minutes with me in this room. We're going to briefly talk about the building, we'll talk a little bit about the time period. And once that room clears out behind you guys, you're going to head across the hallway. That's the room where independence is declared, the Declaration was signed, it's where the United States Constitution was debated and signed. But while we got you here, what we'd like to do is we'd like to introduce you to the building, so you kind of know where you're standing. So about the building, construction begins 1732. So we're almost 300 years old. As a point of reference, we always like to point out, same year George Washington, 1732. So obviously, it's got nothing to do with independence while being built. It's going to be a colonial government building, Pennsylvania, of course. And the way it's all laid out here, the executive branch of the colony, the governor, they had offices upstairs on the second floor. That's what that staircase that you guys walk past, that's what that is. Yeah.
Were they an independent state? Were they just ruled by anybody? Was there any?
It was a land grant. So William Penn's father, William Penn, loaned quite a bit of money to the government, Great Britain. And William Penn Jr., who was the founder of Pennsylvania, the proprietor, he was a Quaker at the time, and he spent a little bit of time in jail, being outlawed. So it was kind of a gimme for both situations. They allowed this debt to be paid off, the Penn family, from the government, if this whole tract of land was given to William Penn, where he could come over with his Quakers and kind of start this religious community. So it wasn't a royal charter, similar to Massachusetts, Virginia, these kind of things, but it was still had to answer the king in some respects.
Okay.
We focus so much in on the money aspect of it. Taxes, taxes, taxes. No taxation without representation. But this is a reminder that it was deeper than that. When you read the Declaration of Independence, you know, it's a list of reasons why they're doing what they're doing. Taxes is mentioned once. What it really boils down to is the right to be tried by a jury of your peers. Innocent until proven guilty, habeas corpus. You know, these rights that we enjoyed as free English people up until certain events in Boston. Boston Tea Party, the Boston Massacre, the intolerance.
And wasn't it when people came from Europe, understanding they came from Europe, most of the people didn't have a lot of money. And
Most
so,
of the time, yeah.
So when they came here, even though there were some people that were fairly well off, people had a chance to, you know, start, have land where you couldn't in Europe. You pretty much had to rent.
There was so
farms.
much land available that they were able to. I mean, you even look at the life charts for individuals. You look at height charts. You know, everyone thinks, you know, people during the 17th, 18th century were so short. They might have been in Europe because they're malnourished, but here in America, it's food to go around.
So we're going to this hallway. Hi.
Hi.
Look at it. And those chandeliers.
This is the Pennsylvania Assembly Room. It's where the colony was run from. And this is a pretty big building for that time. Now, if you had a large public building like this with big rooms, what they would do is lend these rooms out so other groups could meet. And that's how we have all the famous events occurring here. Everything's done in borrowed space, very much like a big community center. Now, one of the groups that borrowed this area was the Second Continental Congress. Now, that's where all the 13 colonies got together trying to decide what to do about the situation with Britain. And at this point, things were pretty bad. When they first started meeting here, they find out the king has declared them in rebellion. And they find out about the battle of Lexington and Concord up in Massachusetts. So fighting with the king's soldiers had started. And this is one of the things that makes them decide they're going to have to break away. So it's at this meeting that Thomas Jefferson presented his Declaration of Independence. Now they didn't just take that declaration the way it was. They made changes here. They took things out, they added things, they changed the wording around, until finally on the 4th of July, 1776, they had the Declaration just the way they wanted. They all vote on it and approve it here that day. And that made it official. We were a new country. But the Declaration was not signed on the 4th of July. It's almost a whole month later. It's really August 2nd, signed right up there at that head table. So we really have several days into the Independence Day. Now, just because they claimed to be a new country didn't mean the king was just going to let them have the land. They had to fight the American Revolution, and that lasted almost 8 years. Now, during that time, they're trying to figure out how are they going to run this new country. But they were having trouble because these states could never get along. They're always fighting, and it takes them almost the whole war before they could all agree on our first form of government, which was under a document called the Articles of Confederation. Now, as it turned out, it really was not the best way to run the country. It had a lot of problems. It wasn't working too well. So what they did, once the war was over, they called together another meeting here in this room to see if they could fix that paper somehow. In the end, they gave up. But then they start over. And this is what turned into our Constitutional Convention, with George Washington in charge. Now, if you look up front here, folks, now this is the actual chair George Washington used during that convention, so he really did sit there. Now, if all of you have been here at the Constitutional Convention, you would have heard a whole lot of arguing coming out of this room, because they have to decide what's going to go into our Constitution and what is not. What's going to be the rules that we run the country by. Now, have you ever tried to get a group of people to agree on something, like where to have lunch? Going through that today, you got an idea what happened here.
Kind of a ladies' man.
So this is the grave of Benjamin Franklin and then the wife. That's amazing. And here, there his says the last resting place of Benjamin Franklin, 1706 to 790. You touch Benjamin Franklin. Oh, you got coins in
Well,
there.
it's a Washington. It's George on Benjamin.
Oh, there's
Well,
the grave.
Emma, I can mint this one now. It's like I got this next to the mint.
I know. So there's Benjamin Franklin and Deborah.
Deborah. Oh, we are in Philadelphia, and we're looking at Ben Franklin's tomb, and his wife is Deborah, or Deborah. Anyhow, these are all the things that he did. He was born, he was removed, he was the editor, appointed, founded, organized, appointed, member, invented, founded, projected, etc., etc., etc. So thank you, Benjamin Franklin. Here we are, folks. This is just one of the alleys next to a fire station. And there's a big fountain and stuff, and there's Emma. Keep walking, and we'll take a picture of you going over here. And there's my number son, Ben.
This is the Alfreds Alley, where the guy said there's crazy rich.
Yeah, the real estate here is expensive.
But it's beautiful. Oh, look at those windows.
Yeah, if I didn't know better, I think I was in Holland or something.
Yeah, we're in London.
It's good. I'm glad to walk with this.
Welcome to vegan.
Yeah. I think we need that one.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's just cute. It's pretty. And it says here, Bladen's Court. This small alley originated between 1749 and 1752. And there's like
So Em,
tall trees in there.
and pretend I'm getting water out of the
And
Em, look. Look at me. And I'm getting water out of here.
Okay. So the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution.
Freedom of speech.
So
is
you-
being taken away.
We need to do notes because we will have the quiz thing.
I thought with digital media, they could do everything.
And there's a long line again there. I think this is the Liberty Bell.
Yeah. What's sad is they have no
Independence Visitor Center in that building. And look at this old pictures. And I like that. It's pretty. This one's like, I am free now. I am free now. The opener of the way. A day of reciprocity. Refuge in the country.
Did you know that about this yellow fever?
Death cards.
In 1793, there was a deadly yellow fever. They moved 9 miles away. They escaped it. Look at these death cards.
I know. It's time for church. Just kidding. What time is it? Is it 12?
No, we're not even close yet. Yeah. It's 10 o'clock.
Oh, okay. So that's for 10. So, long line. I want to have pictures of these buildings.
The abolitionists trying to get rid of slavery, so they use that as a symbol of liberty and freedom. Later on,
There's the guy that we took pictures together. So we are walking to the marketplace to find something to eat.
Hey, you wanna get
It
some
feels like
waxing?
Manila. It
Wanna
feels
get-
like we're in Manila,
Okay.
in the old town of Manila. There's a calesa here.
Like you live in a big city. You know what's going on. You live in Idaho. Trust me, I Right.
Barry and I have it. It's not bad.
Well, I don't know if there's anything in Idaho Falls with
Declaration House.
I want a picture of this out.
Independence. It was intended to be an expression of the American mind.
Okay.
There's the H&M.
So when we buy food, what's the buy food?
Pennsylvania. So we're inside of the market. And there's a lot of foodie.
I did see extra for
Cakes. Yummy, yummy.
Look at all these goodies.
And there's
Chocolate. Anything you want.
I know. There's a lot of
And it just
sweets.
keeps on going.
Uh-huh. Welcome to the market. Welcome to Baclaran or Quiapo or Divisoria. Cubao. Yeah, Cubao. Pwede rin Cubao. Andito kami sa Cubao. The
Look at those pastries there. I mean, this just
I know.
oh my.
So we're gonna get the Philly cheesesteak
Oh,
thing.
there it is right there.
Yeah, that's the one. Since we're in Philadelphia, we need to do the cheesesteak. This one by George. This one here. Here?
Yes.
Look at that. Spaghetti. Okay. So we're trying this Philly cheesesteak. And it's good actually.
Except it's really big, even
Yeah.
though you can't tell.
It's huge.
It's humongous. I don't know if I'll get through mine, but we'll try it.
It's so good.
That's a good program.
It's kind of a nice place here.
Para kaming nasa Cubao.
There's all these fast food places everywhere. But anyhow,